Hi there, thanks for joining me today for this fifth video. Welcome to Ace Your English with Mrs. A. This is video 5. Our focus today for this video is writing, the section B of the GCSE English Language paper. Whether it's any of the boards, they're all section B. And our focus is what effective strategies are needed for writing. Now, I've put the channel URL there, just in case you haven't checked any of the videos before, so you can go back and check videos 1 to 4. I don't want to start telling you what they are if you haven't, but I hope they will be some things that will benefit you. Okay, let's go. So, the writing section of GCSE English Language paper is 40 marks for paper 1 and 40 marks for paper 2. Whichever board, the marks are all the same. So what does this mean? It means there are a lot of marks for the writing sections. So the focus shouldn't just be on the reading, because for most of the papers, except in maybe 1 or 2 occasions, the marks are equal. So all the reading, all the language, the structure, the evaluation that we've looked at will be 40 marks. And then you have the writing paper, this aspect on its own, which is another 40 marks. So if you are someone who really wants to ace your English, you know you have to pay a lot of attention to the writing part as well. So you must take it seriously. What do I need to do to be able to get my English writing part? Practice. So practice writing in different forms continually. Don't just do it once. Don't just do it because, oh, Mrs. or Sir is going to test me in class. Keep practicing. You really need to practice different forms so that you can have confidence in applying the skills effectively. And those are some of the things that we want to look at today. So, the assessment objectives again for the writing. What are they? We have AO5, which means to communicate clearly, effectively, and imaginatively. You will be required to select and adapt your tone, your style, and register for different forms, purposes, and audience. So when you've got the idea, you've got your structure, you know your purpose, you need to organize this information in an accurate, structural, and grammatical way, and make sure that your writing is coherent, that you link your ideas together effectively. This is essential to get some marks. In fact, to get a lot of marks, actually. Again, you will be required to use a range of vocabulary. So I'm using, it says that the assessment criteria says a range, not just one. So you want to be able to use synonyms, probably, to help boost the words that you use. You want to structure your sentences with clarity and to create an effect on the reader. And make sure that your spelling and punctuation are accurate as well. Areas to focus on when planning to write is essential. The communication and organization part that we've just looked at, AO5 at the top, is a 24-mark aspect of the question. Remember, the whole thing is 40 marks. Then we have the vocabulary, the sentence structure, the spelling and punctuation, 16 marks. I am repeating these because they are important. If you have an idea of how you're going to get the marks, then it helps you to know what you need to do to get the marks accurately. So when you're planning, you want to identify the key areas in the question. One of them is purpose. There are different purposes that you will be given at different points in time. They need to be imaginative and creative. Some of them could be writing to persuade, advise, argue, explain, describe. They might not be written specifically like that, but these are some of the things that you want to know. How do you know that a text is persuasive, advising, arguing, explaining, describing? These are the skills that you need to build up to be able to work out what they are. Your audience, a varied audience. I'm still going to break these down in the slides that are coming up, so don't worry if you haven't got it yet. Then the form. Another word I put there is genre, because some of you might have heard the word genre. Maybe your teachers have used the word genre. So this is different mediums for getting your information across, different types of texts, different ways of structuring your writing. Let's look at purpose first. It's important to pay attention to instructions. So first of all, what are the things that I'm asked to do? Now, I'm putting down a few ideas here of how examination boards have actually structured what they want you to do to give you an idea. And these cut across all the exam boards. So you would realize that I've been talking about the board that your school is following. If you don't know that, that's one of the key things that you want to know. That will help you, guide you when you're going through not just this, but so many other things. So you could be asked to write the words for a talk. That means write a speech for a specific audience. OCR and EduCAS, paper 1, paper 2, structure a question like this. There will be a bit more. They will give you a specific audience. They will tell you what the talk is about. That's one way they ask for purpose. Again, you could be asked to write an article for a magazine or newspaper or a blog. Again, that's the way OCR paper 1 structures. OCR paper 1 will give you 2 options, and you will make a choice of one. In the Edexcel paper 1 as well, you could be asked to write about a specific time when something occurred. So it could be something good, something bad that happened to you or somebody you know. It will be structured in a way like that. So it's a sort of generic idea, which does come from the texts that you have read. The text that you read in the reading will sort of lead you on into this. Which means when you are reading the section A, pay attention to the whole theme of the text. You could be asked to write a description suggested by a picture. AQA paper 1 and Edexcel paper 1 also do that. You would see that Edexcel paper 1 has come up twice. They're giving you an option. So there's option 1, there's option 2, you choose one. Now for more purposes, you could be asked to use a word or a phrase as a title for a story. EduCAS paper 1, OCR paper 2, structure a question like that. Now, you could be asked to write the opening or ending of a story, which is different from the one atop the title, focusing on the theme. Now, AQA paper 2 does say this. The difference between all the other boards and AQA paper 2, however, is that in AQA paper 2, you are only given one question, so you're not given any options. That means you need to be able to understand how to write stories, the beginning or the ending. I couldn't put all those ones into this video, but Those are some of the things you need to know how to structure. You could also be asked to write about a specific time when something occurred. That's OCR paper 2. Similar to the Edexcel one in the last slide, but could be a bit different. I just put, these are generics, but these are the ways they are structured about a specific time. Again, something specifically happened, things like that. Again, you could be asked to give advice or persuade by writing a guide. It could be anything they could ask you to write, but you might be asking to persuade someone or to give some sort of advice to a particular audience, and that's Edexcel paper 2. Again, you could be asked to write a letter to an important individual in society, maybe the Prime Minister or an expert in one way or the other, and that's another question for Edexcel paper 2. Again, you would see that OCR paper 2 has 2 questions, Edexcel paper 2, 2 questions. Then you could be asked to write a letter to a magazine giving your views on a specific subject or to an important individual. Similar to the one I've just read before, that's Educast paper 2 as well. Now, when we look at the audience, what comes to mind when you think of audience? The person or the people that you're writing for. It's important that you consider your audience when you're writing. The question given will give you a specific audience. Please be aware of your audience and focus on it. Remember as well that the teacher, or in case of the exams, the examiner, are also included in the audience. So don't use inappropriate language and say, yeah, but I'm writing for a friend, or things like that. Or I'm writing for my peer groups. Yes, but remember that you have to use register that's suitable for their task. So some ideas of different audiences. You can have the head teacher or the principal, whichever one language used in your school. Could be specific year groups. You might be writing for your year group or a 16-year-old, or write for the younger year groups, just depending on the question, which helps you to know the way you have to structure the text. It could be for a member of parliament. At times it could be the Prime Minister, an expert, or someone with a degree of authority in society. It could be for parents. It could be for young people. It shows you that you need skills to be able to structure whatever you have to suit a particular audience. It could be for young children, children as well sometimes. Now the form. The terminology register and style are important here. What does register mean? You might know style, yes, the way it is going to be, if it's a letter, if it's writing for a magazine. But what does register mean? Register means, again, the words that you're going to use, how you're going to put the whole thing together to have an effect on the reader. So the form and genre. Try to use suitable techniques. Let the register and style, and I've explained them, the vocabulary, the imagery, the language techniques, reflect the form required. It is important that you do that. For example, if you're writing a description or narrative, you could apply colloquial elements, that's slang, but only do it where necessary and if it's really fits in. Don't just do things because you want to do it. Make sure it will have an effect on the audience. And of course, if it's going to have a negative effect, you don't really need to use it. If you're writing a monologue, for example, yes, you can incorporate a sustained single voice. Make it vocal. Let the reader hear your voice. And it doesn't just mean in a monologue. If you're writing a story, Let's hear your own voice, your own ideas come through. That's the form genre. When writing a letter, apply the adequate formats. If it's a formal letter, remember you need 2 addresses. If you're not sure of what that means, these are some of the things that you need to start looking at now and developing the skills along that line. And then if you're writing for a magazine or newspaper, you do not need to write in columns. Of course, if you do so, that's okay, but it's not going to add or take your marks away. So that's the purpose, audience, and the form. Now, how do you structure the content? Remember, the communication and organization, this part is 24 marks. That is what focuses on content or what you are talking about in whatever form of writing you're doing. Now, remember, practice continually. This will help you to build your confidence, and then you become confident in applying the skills that are needed for writing. Remember, it's a 40-mark question. Be it paper 1 or paper 2, be any examination board. Effectively organize your writing. How do you do that? Plan, plan, plan before writing. I can hear you say, but I don't like planning. I don't plan. I can plan after. Well, who built a house and then does the planning after the house? That's what you want to think about. You're not going to be writing essays all your life, writing for exams all your life. This is just a time that you want to practice and use that information because it's going to help you. Plan your writing. Plan your writing. Use a range of paragraphs. Vary the lengths of the paragraphs. What do? They engage the reader. Using structure and language. And then if you're saying what does structure mean, what does language mean, video 1 and video 2 and video 3 explain all that. So using structure and language to convey your meaning shows you can write confidently. Remember, when you are reading and you are identifying language, recognizing structure, what it means is you want to apply them in your writing as well. So if you look back at the structure, or it talks about flashback, or it talks about starting in the middle, and it talks about using sentences of any kind, you also need to apply these in your own writing. Just demonstrate that you understand the form required for the purpose given. You would have heard of SPAG many times. Do you know what it means? It means vocabulary, sentence structure, spelling, and punctuation. This part is 16 marks. It is quite a lot of marks out of 40. You want to ensure you can get as many as possible. So, what do we need to know? Remember, again, using structure and language to convey your meaning shows you can write confidently. I'm repeating this so that you understand it. When we talk about vocabulary, ambitious words, sophisticated words, these come through application of synonyms. Instead of using or repeating a word, have you learned some other ways of using that same word? It's a good idea if you practice this now. You will see now that there are quite a lot of things to practice in writing. The only thing I will say is Ensure the word you're using is relevant. Don't just pick up a big word and say, oh yes, I need ambitious vocabulary. I've learned this one, I'll use it. And make sure that you actually understand the meaning of the word and that it does actually fit in to what you're writing. Use imagery. Not all the time, but where relevant. Sentence structure. Complex sentences, compound sentences, shorter sentences. Make good use of them. For your spelling, are you someone who says, oh, my spelling is not too good? What can you do? Can you practice? Would that help? Using a dictionary, would it help you? Or probably just learn some strategies of how you can spell difficult words. These are some of the things that I can help you with in the future if you are really struggling in this area. Punctuation. Don't just put semicolons because you've heard about semicolons, or use colons because you've heard about colons. Make sure that you use them in the right place, and if you don't use them at all, you will not be penalized. The only thing that is important is that you use capital letters and full stops where necessary. It's important that you can use that. Where do we use capital letters? Okay, at the beginning of a sentence, when you start a word at the beginning, after a full stop in the middle. How about names? Places, names of places. Like if you say London, for example, or America. It is important that you do use that. And when you use somebody's name, punctuation is very important. You don't want to lose marks. All those things makes you lose marks. You can see there are quite a lot of marks in this section. You don't want to lose marks that you really should get. Now, I'm going to give you a practice question that you can work on. The first one. Write about a time when you or somebody you know was in danger. I got this I took this question, or I developed this question from video 4, where we had the text about the lady that was in some form of danger. What I'm trying to say is that in exams, there's always a link with the reading text and the question given to you. If you perhaps did video 4, you would remember the text. If you haven't, you might check it and see what I mean by that. But that's the question. Now, your response could be real or imagined. They say that. Your response will be marked for the accurate and appropriate use of vocabulary, spelling, punctuation, and grammar. So straight away, they're telling you that 60 marks, in that bit there, you will be assessed on that. So, are you thinking? Write about a time when you or somebody you know was in danger. You can give it a go. You can give this question a go and practice it. Or, there's question 2. There's a picture there. You're looking at the picture right now. What can you see? What do you think it's about? If you remember when we were looking at the questions, you are given an image. AQA, EdXL, they do give you that image. Not that you have to use that because you have an option of this or another one, but I'm just giving you an example of this. A magazine has asked for contributions for their creative writing page. Write a description of a garden or allotment as suggested by this picture. Why don't you give these questions a go? When you have a lot of time, you can do 1, you can do 2, and try and develop your writing skills. Remember, writing, practicing is very important. So I'm hoping that you've enjoyed the teachings of today. So I've done 5 videos, as I said, and I hope that you have been, I hope you have benefited from them anyway. The teachings are language and structure, evaluation, and this one, writing. And that they have increased your English language knowledge in general. Maybe you haven't gone through any of the videos. They are there. I'd say that you go back and have a look at them. And if it's something that you think you have benefited from, why not share it with your friends and family? And subscribe to my YouTube channel, because there will be more information there from time to time. It's called Ace Your English with Mrs. A, and I have put the URL there so that it's easy for you to check out, just in case you don't subscribe to it. And also check my website, because there will be more resources there from time to time as well. For video 4, I will be writing a sample response for one of the evaluation questions. I haven't done that yet, but I will. So by the time you get there, hoping that will be beneficial as well. And should you require any support in your English, that's maybe online tuition or face-to-face in the future, you can contact me through my website and I'll get in touch with you and we'll take it from there. I'm wishing you the very best. Thank you for watching the videos and being with Mrs. A at this time. I do hope you will be able to ace your English and go on to do whatever you want to do in the future. All the best, all the best, all the best. Remember, you can ace your English. You can do it because it's in you to do. Thank you very much for watching my videos. And once again, best wishes. Bye for now, Mrs. A.